Thank you for joining us on another episode of Popcorn for Breakfast. With me, as always, my co-host, Kirk.
Hello, hello.
And I'm your other co-host, Cam. We are thrilled to have you here for another episode of Popcorn for Breakfast, a What's Poppin' movie and TV news edition of Popcorn for Breakfast, coming to you a little bit later this week. And honestly, I have to say that's for the best, because last weekend I was in a wedding. Mazel tov to the happy couple. It was a great thrill. Actually, one of our listeners and someone we know pinged me on Discord and was like, "Are you in a wedding? Because I think I saw you taking pictures." And I was like, "What?" So that's fun. Fun with Discord. Another plug for that.
Shout out, Andrew.
That's right.
Hello.
Shout out. So that was funny. But then after the wedding was the Super Bowl. So needless to say, Monday and Tuesday version of me was not the best versions of myself. I felt like Wile E. Coyote after getting some sort of like either piano or like an Acme anvil, something smashed on my head is basically how I felt.
That's right. You at the Super Bowl party, we were there together. I was revising our nephew's sonnet for school.
Dude,
and
heroic work on your part, by the way. That was awesome.
Thank you. And you had a queso hangover, I think, because I made some queso, and
yes.
I think I saw you only eat the queso, not even the chips. I thought I saw you like with the gravy boat, just like drinking it.
I just picked up the crock pot and just sat it on my lap.
You have third-degree burns. The audience can't see from the heat of the crock pot.
But literally, for real though, every single person who walked into that Super Bowl party was like, "Cam, are you good?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm running on very little sleep, please." My mom was like, "Are you sick? What is happening?" Which is always a good sign. It's nice whenever you feel like garbage and people let you know that you also look as bad as you feel. That is
it's the classic worst thing to say to a woman. You look tired.
Yeah, you look. That's everybody was giving me that on
also
on Sunday.
Offensive for men, but I didn't say that to you.
No, you didn't. You didn't.
I was deep in a laptop just reciting. I am a
Shakespearean, just dishing out Shakespearean wisdom. I loved it. So yeah, we're coming at you later in the week. This week, busy week for movie and TV news. Lots of big news, and of course, the biggest movie on the block this week is going to be, of course, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, or as I like to call it, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantum Mania. Because I don't know about you, Kirk, but I've seen about 5,000 tweets or Facebook posts or TikToks where people are like, "Did you know that you can see the words Ant-Man and Quantumania?" And I'm like, the novelty of that is fine, but I saw way too many posts for like people being like, "This is so cool." I was like, I don't really see why that's that cool. I don't know.
I wonder if they did that on purpose.
Yeah, I wonder, Kirk. I mean, who knows?
Or was it a happy surprise to the entire marketing team that none of them capitalized Ant and Man in the title? They know what they're doing.
They of course know. It's not a surprise. It's not even that well hidden. I don't know. I'm being a curmudgeon, but I've seen literally so many posts of people being like, "Did you know? Easter egg. You can see." I'm like, this is not an Easter egg. This is nothing. But we will be viewing that movie tomorrow. So 2/16, Thursday, we'll be seeing it. And
I thought you were saying 2:16 in the morning.
Yeah, that's when we're going, Kirk. Oh, I didn't tell you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Wow, I better take a nap before that. I'm a night owl, but I don't know. That's a late show time for me.
Yeah, that's way too late for me. I would be asleep. But we'll be giving you all the details on that. There will be many. This is, of course, the start of Phase 5 of the MCU, so there are storylines abound. We're getting ready to meet our big bad as Kang in this film, so lots of storylines going on there. We'll be sure to get into it. But for today, we're going to get into some good old-fashioned movie and TV news. As you know, the Super Bowl is a great movie holiday because we get lots of trailers. So I thought, Kirk, we could kick things off with one of our favorite things, which is trailer reactions. What do you say?
Yes. Let's do it.
Let's pop it up. And there were quite a few trailers that were shown. Some were short spots. We're going to stick with the longer trailers that were unveiled, or at least were like, go see the full trailer online. Like new trailers that were released on Super Bowl Sunday. The biggest of which were probably Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, The Flash, and Fast X. We did get other trailers. We got a quick 30-minute spot of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, but I don't know about you, Kirk. It was 30 seconds. There was new footage in it for sure, but it wasn't like anything. It wasn't substantial, in my opinion.
There wasn't a new substantial reveal that's going to be like, oh my goodness, Shia LaBeouf is back or something like that.
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? They would have shut down the Super Bowl. People would have been reacting to that.
It's true.
Wow. But then there was also the weird like Transformers Rise of the Beast spot that was like half a Transformers ad and like half a Porsche ad, which was really strange. They're like Transformers times Porsche, which is fine.
You're still confused that we're having another Transformers movie?
So are we.
Here's a Porsche commercial.
I know. Very strange. So we're going to focus on those big three. Let's start with, I don't know, Kirk, where do you want to go? Guardians, The Flash, Fast X?
I would love to start with Guardians.
Okay, Guardians. We'll pull that up here for those of you watching on the YouTubes. Surprising amount of new information going on in this trailer, which I was very thankful for. First of all, unfortunately, we have to watch it on mute because of copyright and things like that. But just a very stylish trailer overall. And the thing we've been waiting for this whole time throughout this whole process is more Gamora. And this trailer gives us just gobs and gobs of Gamora content to kind of chew on here. I still don't really know how they're going to wrap that up. Have to imagine they will. And they'll kind of, James Gunn will find some way to show us that they are soulmates in this whole process. But throughout most of this trailer, they are meeting. They being Peter Quill and Gamora are at odds with one another. We get lots of sort of Rocket content going on. Our first really good looks at Chukwudi Iwuji as the High Evolutionary. They are, of course, alluding heavily to the fact that he was responsible for the creation of Rocket Raccoon, which will tie a nice bow onto his story arc. We get tons of zany 90s Fraggle Rock-esque little characters thrown in here from James Gunn, as well as some good Adam Warlock stuff. Kirk, you're watching this trailer. There's tons of new stuff to chew on here. I think it looks gorgeous, but I want to get your reaction to it.
I love a couple of things. I love that it looks like we're in prison again. Of course, Guardians 1 had the most incredible prison breakout scene. So we've got a throwback to that from the first film. I love that he's also in his prison gear. He's holding like an orb, right? So that's familiar. And we're getting these characters back to their roots. Not that anything was wrong or too far off in Guardians 2, but it's good to have these allusions to both of them to make sure that we still know and remember these characters. My biggest question is, where are we going to meet up with Gamora? Is it a fast forward? Are we meeting them after the events of the Christmas special? Maybe. Are we getting like an immediate post-mortem endgame situation and then fast forwarding and then having an expository convo between Gamora and Peter that talks about what's going on, who she was to him in the future version of her? Like there's a lot of gaps to fill, but I trust all of it because I don't think her attitude is off kilter here. I do believe it's spot on and just more room for Zoe to flex her muscles because like whatever direction that James Gunn said jump, she did. And it looks great. The whole thing just looks really good. And perhaps my favorite piece in here is to see Peter back with his blasters. We didn't get a lot of that in recent appearances, and that's his weapon of choice, right? That's his number one thing. So I love seeing that in full blown action as well.
Yeah, it was refreshing to see in this trailer just a lot of good group combat dynamics between the Guardians, because that's when they're really at their best, is when things are fast, they're dynamic, they're quipping at each other in the middle of an engagement. It's just fun. When you think about the Guardians, those are probably the moments that come to mind whenever you think about this group of characters, is when they're in the heat of battle and they're saying ridiculous things to each other and just kind of like also dominating the opponent. But it's there's a lot of good stuff to chew on. I'm with you on the Gamora stuff. Like, where does this fall in the timeline? What's the runtime of this movie is what's really crossing my mind. Because
7 hours. 7 hours.
I'm here for it. But I seriously am starting to wonder how long this finale is going to be, because a lot of these Marvel movies are starting to have some pretty long run times to be able to kind of fit in what needs to happen. And this being the sort of the conclusion of the Guardians, will need some time, particularly if there isn't a significant time jump from the holiday special and they need to show us how they tracked down Gamora, got her to join up with them, whatever. Did they meet in prison? Whatever. So there's a lot to resolve, especially like, where does Adam Warlock fit into all of this as well, especially since it seems like the Rocket arc is going to be the primary focus of the film, which I think is a good call. James Gunn has said, as much as like Rocket is the secret star of Guardians of the Galaxy, if you think about it, like Guardians Volume 2 was as much Rocket's story as it was Quill's, right, and the foils between Rocket and Yondu. So I think there's a lot of interesting things here, but the biggest takeaway that you and I both hit on is it looks good. It looks really good. I don't have major question marks about this movie. I mean, question marks, yes, but I don't have major doubts about the quality of this movie based on what I've seen so far. Are you in the same spot?
Same boat. There's not a doubt in my mind. It just looks absolutely stunning. I like the shots that they have where they're coming at, they're called zoom shots, where the characters are moving, but it looks like the camera's moving away from them, but they're moving toward the camera. So it has this illusion that the background is like dropping away.
Yes.
You see a couple of those happen and it just looks so good. Hitchcock was one who did a bunch of those, it's fantastic if you watch his filmography. But that paired with the galaxy around it and explosions and ships and slow motion, like all of it, it's just absolutely stunning. I love it so much.
Yeah, it's going to be a good time, and it is the next Marvel theatrical release after Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So it feels far away, but it's May. It's early May. It's going to be here before you know it, honestly. So
that's right. You'll go and see Ant-Man 7 or 8 times in the theater, and then it will be here just like that. It'd be very simple to get to.
It really will. All right, Kirk, which door do you want to open next, Fast X or The Flash?
Let's go Fast X.
Yeah,
I want to see our family, if you will.
That's right. Well, Kirk, you'll never guess this, but Dom Toretto and the crew have found themselves in quite the predicament here Fast X. There are many competing priorities and factions of people going on here. But the big takeaways, in all seriousness, if we can be serious about this,
not at all.
They're not even serious about it. So that's why we can't be serious about it. Like it's obviously, at its best, Fast and the Furious is kind of like an action caricature, self-aware kind of just fun time action movie. Like that wasn't eloquent, but that really is what it is. It's just for the laughs and the good times. And they're sort of leaning into that in this trailer. Like the clip they just showed is literally Vin Diesel on a walkie-talkie being like, "The one mistake you made is you left me with my car." Like it's very silly. So followed by a close-up of Jason Momoa as the villain's face being like, who knows what he even says, but he's like, "Dom Toretto." It's all very hilarious. But the big takeaways here, we get a good look at Jason Momoa, who is clearly the villain in this whole thing. Never mind the fact that we're bringing back other villains like Charlize Theron, John Cena from the last film, etc. Mm-hmm. We've also got Jason Statham, who appears in this trailer. He was not in the last film. If I'm remembering correctly, after Hobbs and Shaw's, I don't think he was in the Fast Saga. So he's back. And we get Brie Larson's first appearance in the Fast franchise. So she's kind of like saying, she's like the harbinger of death. She's like, he's coming for you, Dom. He's gonna take everything.
That's her only line. She's actually just like a random citizen, and she sees what's going on, and she says that, and we never see her again.
Never. She just walks off. She gets top billing, and she just gets that one scene. Oh man, that would be hilarious. That would be the ultimate troll. But Kirk, yes. We got to look at the Fast series, and obviously this franchise runs the gamut from pretty good action movie to horrific, unwatchable, hot pile of garbage. But where do you feel about this one, where it's at right now?
Honestly, this looks, 10 times better than the previous F9, the Fast saga. I feel like there is an actual attempt at a story versus we just need to smash everything. I mean, there's plenty of smashing done here, and there's, the stunts they're doing are absolutely absurd, but I feel like there's a story here above everything else, and they could have tricked me again because they always do.
That's right.
But I don't know. It looks like they're really trying for this one. It looks like they're really trying. It looks like there was more legitimate racing and trying to go back to their roots, similar to the Guardians trailer. They're trying to get back to what people are familiar with, what they fell in love with these characters for. I feel like when I go to this showing versus F9, I'm going to be more enthralled versus, oh, well, I guess I'll just giggle at the silly crashes and fights going on. I feel like this one will be like, all right, what's up, Vin Diesel? You're back a little bit, not full-fledged, but a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that it looks way better than F9. I felt like F9 was like almost a new low point for the franchise. I just really did not like that movie. Things like Hobbs and Shaw, like, and the Fast, I think it was like number 6, 7, and 8. Like I found redeeming qualities in those films. Like they had kind of seemed to have turned a corner when they got into like the 6, 7, 8 range. And so I wasn't excited for F9, but I thought it would be a lot better than it was. I mean, this just isn't my favorite franchise if we're being honest. Yeah. But this one looks higher quality, and they've got a new director because remember they like had a whole kerfluffle at the beginning with the director basically just like walking off set. Right. And so they've got Louis, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but Leterrier, who that's probably horrible, but he is a capable action director. He directed Now You See Me. He's directed The Incredible Hulk. So it's not his films. You wouldn't look at his filmography and go, this is a guy who just rolls out banger after banger. But in terms of stylish action, he's more than capable. And what I like about this trailer is it feels like there's a nice blend between the way that this is being shot. Like it doesn't feel like they're just trying to get it doesn't feel like they're taking like a Transformers, like Michael Bay type approach to this, the way that I did with F9. It feels like there's trying to be like a blend of style in with the action so that it actually fits the franchise. So I'm hopeful, at least in how this looks, that it's not just going to be gimmick after gimmick after gimmick the way that F9 was. F9 was just like, all right, we've got this gimmick where we shoot this car into space. All right, we've got this gimmick where we swing a car off a cliff on some sort of like barbed wire chain and it comes back around. Like this, and everything in that movie was just a setup for the next gimmick, so it didn't work. This feels like it has something more to it, perhaps.
You know what it has?
What?
Family.
Well, that's for sure. I mean, that's that goes without saying.
I felt a lack of family in F9, and I really want to get the family.
Which
back
is saying
together.
something because his literal brother was in the movie in John Cena. But there's family, and then there's family.
That's right.
There's a difference. There's a difference. All right, our last trailer is The Flash, and boy, oh boy, I have thoughts. But let's just play it and kind of drink it in here. This is our first real theatrical trailer. We've seen bits and pieces of this at DC fandoms and the like. Seen short clips of Michael Keaton, etc. This trailer shows more of the film that we've sort of been reading about, with Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne playing a role, Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne playing a heavy role. Multiple versions of Ezra Miller, Sasha Kaje as Supergirl. there is just a lot to chew on here. So as we kind of roll this, Kirk, I want to get your overall take on this movie and this trailer. And you can talk about them separately because it can be a good trailer and you can still have concerns about the movie. But this being our first big giant look at this movie, kind of what is your temperature on it?
Yeah, let's talk about this. Wow, that ring looks really cool. Let's talk about this with all of the yuck attached to it. Let's separate that right now.
Yeah.
This trailer is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. This is what the former DCEU, it really is exactly what it needed. It's going across different timelines. It's going across different characters. It's showing us just this magnificent magnus opus, right? of everything that it could have been. How sad that this is what this is. But what I mostly love about this is that not a big fan of Ezra Miller's Barry Allen, but the alternate universe, the short-haired, the more grounded Barry Allen that we see in this other universe, that's the one that we should have had from the get-go versus the really squirrely one that we were presented with in all of the Justice League before this. So I'm excited to see the foils. I think will work well, and whatever happens at the end of this movie, I just hope that the right one dies and then the other one survives. And who knows what that looks like. But all the bat suits, this trailer is so long and so much happens with it that the only part that's weird is Supergirl's entrance. But I also appreciate the grittiness of it too. Like, this thing is really, really out there, and I'm really enjoying all of it.
Yeah, I mean, there is so much to chew on. I was floored by this trailer. Actually, we were watching the Super Bowl together, as we stated earlier, and this trailer, more so than any other commercial, sort of made everybody in the room stop and go, okay, what's going on here? Which is really cool. And the Michael Keaton stuff was, very present, and everybody in the room responded really well to it. So I was taken aback by it because I as much as we've heard good things about this movie from the people involved in it, talking about how great of a movie this is going to be, James Gunn calling it one of the greatest superhero movies of all time. I didn't know what to expect because a lot of people blow smoke, but this trailer is phenomenal, like truly very good. Everything about it is so intriguing. I mean, the Michael Keaton Batman action sequences look sick. Ben Affleck riding the motorcycle and then like using the Batarang like cord thing to be dragged across the ground with the gray suit with the black on it. Like, it just looks amazing. And it feels like, okay, so this is inspired heavily by the Flashpoint event in the comics, which is one of the best comic book events, in my opinion, in recent history for DC Comics. And it looks like they're doing it justice in their own way. And this trailer feels like a comic book event in it, because you're like, what's Supergirl doing here? Why are these two different versions of Batman's doing here? When you read a comic event where it's big in scale, weird stuff like that happens. People pop in that you don't expect, and they just kind of are there for this one self-contained thing, and it makes it a really fun, enjoyable ride. And that's the vibe that this gives off, and the vibe is immaculate. I'm blown away, and it causes a high degree of cognitive dissonance with me, because I'm like, I don't know what I want from this. Do I want it to be amazing? Yes, but sort of just as its own thing, because the DCEU, sort of what this ties back to, as we know it, is effectively dead.
Yes.
So if this does well, then it's like, well, that kind of sucks, because it's like we could have had a new starting point for these characters, including Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne and whoever else, and now we're like starting from scratch, and this is just like an afterthought. But I have to kind of keep myself in check, because we don't know where they're going to go with this, etc. The other thing is, I do not like Ezra Miller or what they represent at all. And I know that there's a lot of things that could be overblown in the media, but this person has had a ton of criminal charges pressed against them in the past year and a half, with the crazy rampage in Hawaii where they're like assaulting people, to the grooming and like sort of manipulative kidnapping kind of thing with that young Native American girl. There's just a lot of yuckiness with Ezra Miller. And let's not forget that even before all that stuff, they already had a criminal past that involved violence and abuse and things like that. So this is not someone who I have a very high opinion of. Let's just say it that way. So there is, just being fully honest, there is a part of me that wants this movie to suck because I want them gone and not to have to deal with Ezra anymore. And I don't know how to reconcile that right now.
Yeah. I also heard that it was Ezra Miller's fault. They took down all of cryptocurrency. They were the one that shut it down. They bid too much. They short circuited it and it just fell apart. So,
and the password sharing thing on Netflix, Ezra Miller's idea.
All Ezra Miller. The Ukrainian-Russian conflict.
Oh no.
Ezra Miller.
No. Honestly, at this point I would not be surprised. I really wouldn't.
It's all Ezra. Yeah, I think that going into this, much like it's more recent. That's what's hard about it. There are so many celebrities out there who have done terrible things that we've forgiven them for, whether they got canceled or not. Or, there are all sorts of crazy things like manslaughter and all of the abuse charges in Hollywood. There are crazy amounts of things that have happened in this industry, in this town. This is just the more recent one. Also, everything is terrible that Ezra has done. So it's hard. The separation is very hard.
I know.
See it for the other people that worked their butts off and had no clue that Ezra would go off the deep end, right? That's what you're going for. And hopefully, instead of saying, you know what, maybe Ezra can continue with some forgiveness. Don't we all need redemption? I honestly don't think that we should with this person, but maybe we could say this is the final stake in the DCEU. And just like it seems like they're going to take care of Zachary Levi going forward, at least they allude to that. Yeah. Maybe we can have, of course, Michael Keaton can continue. And of course, Supergirl, I forget her name.
Sasha Kaji.
She can continue. So I think there's options to piece and pull out of there to go forward.
Yeah, man, it's a lot. I will trust the people at a higher pay grade to deal with how that works. But there is, like, we were just talking about the movie Tar, where they kind of have this debate. It's like, how do you separate the art from the person? And obviously, I have probably unwittingly watched so many things with so many despicable people over the years. It's just like, because this is so front of mind, like you said, it's hard to like separate the art from the artist, in this case. So,
right.
Hopefully the Ezra Miller redemption tour is sincere and goes well, and if possible, makes right what was made wrong. I don't know that is possible, but we'll just see. As far as the movie goes, I can't believe how good this trailer is. Stole the show in terms of trailers, even including Guardians, in my opinion, etc. Was blown away. And I'm hyped. I have to say, I'm hyped.
It's a hard thing to do is be excited for this movie.
But after the
trailer, it's like,
I want so badly to be excited about it because Batman is my favorite thing, and there's so much good Batman stuff, and Keaton, and I keep thinking back to when they were like, Michael Keaton is going to take on this like Nick Fury sort of role in the DC multiverse. And I was like, oh my gosh, would that be just sick?
I still think, I know that it got canned, but I still think that James Gunn is smart enough to give us Batman Beyond. I really do. Not yet, but soon.
Yeah, at some point. We're still very early. He's saying they haven't even announced all the projects for Chapter 1. Mm-hmm. So there's still time. There's plenty of time. And we're just getting started. So yeah, it'll be good. All right. That's it for Super Bowl trailers. We'll leave it there. There were a few other stories that dropped. One is ominous beyond all ominous, Kirk, and that is the Netflix password sharing situation, which is evolving. So this is really the first time we've talked about this sort of substantially on the pod, so we'll try to get into it a little bit, but there was an incident. I'm calling it an incident now. There was an incident, I think a couple of weeks back now, where Netflix's FAQs on their website had some information talking about how users would have to check in their devices on their home internet. They would have to set a primary home for their Netflix account in a clear means to manage password sharing. Since then, Netflix kind of quickly backed off that and said, hey, that wasn't meant to be on our website yet. US-based users don't have to worry about this right now. We'll share more details on the password sharing thing as it comes. Well, that's all fine and well, and everybody kind of thought they were rolling over on it. But in certain international markets, like I think Canada and a few Southeast Asian markets, have started to feel the effects of this. And it is very much in line with what was said in FAQs, basically being that you have to have one home base for your Netflix account. They will geolocate an IP address, locate it, and tag it and say any device that is not tagged here within 30 days or whatever gets locked, and those devices no longer have access to your Netflix account. So we have to assume, Kirk, that this is coming for the U.S. at some point as the countermeasure to password sharing.
Now, it's not permanent.
Sure,
but
you can unlock. You're right.
You do have to go back to the home base and type in the password physically there, and then move on your merry way.
So if you have 30 days of clemency, is that what happens? If you
31, yep,
31,
they put it on 31 just to be sure for the longest months. So maybe if you're sharing and you have someone who likes to watch on their iPad, you just bring your 6 iPads over.
I'll just grab my 75-inch TCL Roku TV and come plug it in at your house, Kirk. Does that work?
Yeah, that's
once
fine.
A month. We'll do it on the first of the month.
We'll make it a thing. We'll have a big meal and everything.
Yeah, it'll be great. It'll be a good way to catch up.
Oh my goodness, man! It's the biggest issue that comes into play with this is that, I often consider families with kids away at college, or
of course
families that are maybe they live in the same town, but they are. They're newly out of the house and whatever. You just want to help them out. There's no.
Or you're temporarily displaced. You got laid off. You're moving in with your in-laws for a month. You're in between houses. You sold your house. You need to move into another one. Yeah. What have you?
What about someone in the military who's not going to be here for several months? What do you do there?
Flight attendants. What if you travel for work on a regular basis?
Right.
Sometimes for long stretches, or you work part of, I don't know. I mean, there's any number of scenarios, right?
Right. There's a lot of people with multiple homes, they're saying that you have to get several accounts. I guess if you have multiple homes, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Screw those guys. They don't count. We're talking about the real people here, the reals.
That's right. We're talking about the people that carry this country on their backs. I think they're going to be met with not a lot of cancellations. I feel like there will be not significant cancellations, but maybe like 0.5% of people that will just straight up cancel to be like, how dare you? And they'll get a jailbroken, fire stick and move on with their lives. But I feel like that there's going to be a big protest over this. And I feel like there has to be changes. Because why? I mean, I know your subscriber count is down, but maybe there's a way that you can still charge what you're charging, which is already higher than it's ever been before, Netflix, but still be able to count those people as individual subscribers. So count by user and say, hey, this is my friend who lives down the street. This is my family member. And, identify that way and not have any threat of password sharing issues down the line. And then say, this is our real subscriber count.
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, in the world that we live in, every company will say, well, we don't want to pass on, our hardships to the consumers. But it's not true. Every single company, the first thing they're going to do is pass it on to you. The first thing that they're going to do, and this is just true. It's basic economic principles. Let's put our elasticity of our product to the test. So that's what Netflix is doing here. They're trying to pass on the price to the consumer. You know why? Because a lot of the time, the consumer, if you have a good product and you've got your tentacles latched into their life, the consumer is going to take it. And people have for a very long time, but now it's not good enough for Netflix and they need more. I think the consumers need to make Netflix feel this. I really do. I think that all you people out there who are password sharing, it should be the vast majority of us, don't you think, Kirk?
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, it should definitely be the vast majority. I think we need a push, and you're saying it may not happen, and you're probably right, but it needs to happen because as a consumer, if you don't want to spend more, then end it. End your relationship. Cut it off. That's the best way to negotiate and encourage other people to do the same thing. You use the buying power that you have. And I think that people will create a big stink about this. And I hope that they do. I hope they create a monumental stink because I think that this is unfair. And I think that if Netflix looked closely, there's probably quite a few places they could find this money or different, more creative ways to do this. I think about things like Paramount Plus. I was watching Paramount Plus. I'm watching Some Like It Hot right now for the 52-week movie challenge. And when you pause on Paramount Plus, an ad pops up. Just a quick ad, and it doesn't really interrupt anything. You're paused, right? That's a smart idea. As a consumer, I don't hate that. I have no issues with that. I'm watching commercial free. I pause. There's a Tide ad on the pause screen. I see it. There's a QR code. I notice
you quickly buy it, and then you go back to your movie.
Exactly. But that doesn't bother me. There are creative ways to go about this without having to resort to this. And here's the other thing I'll say. And this has been my argument all along with this. They already charge people for password sharing. On Netflix, they have, depending on which tier you have, is how many simultaneous streams you can have. Well, we've tried it, Kirk. If you're sharing with someone, one stream is not going to cut it. In a lot of cases, two streams is not going to cut it. So if you want 4K and you want an experience, you and I pay for 4 streams, and we divide it between our 2 households. Why can Netflix say where those streams are used? What does it matter to them? It's 4 streams, right? It's not more than that. I can't share my password with the entire country of Guatemala. They are limiting me to 4 streams. Let me use them how I want to. If I've got a kid who's in college, whatever. If somebody wants to watch one movie on my Netflix account, it's 1 stream, whatever. Why? That is them charging us for password sharing. Is it not?
It is, because you can't surpass the number of devices simultaneously streaming. So it does not matter. It does not matter at all.
And who the heck is using 4 streams at the same time in one house? What are you, the Duggars?
Monsters.
Nobody is doing that. Nobody is doing that.
No, not at all.
I can't think of a single scenario in which that would happen, even if you had 6 kids. I honestly cannot imagine it.
Nope, no way. Because there's
just
no chance.
Just leave it at that. Just be like, you want more streams? Boom, you need 4 streams.
You have bigger issues if all 6 people are trying to simultaneously stream something separately.
For sure. So, I'm obviously, my dander is up on this issue. I hope that the consumers respond in the way that they should, which is to cancel basically effective immediately. And I think that the Netflix's big mistake here, they probably could have passed on price increases on their subscriptions till the cows came home before people would stop, because a lot of people are sharing and it would have been fine, hunky dory. What? It's $30 a month? Well, it's still only $15 for my half of it or whatever. It would have been fine. But instead, they decided to disrupt the product, and I think that they are going to pay the piper for that. I hope they do. I hope they do. What a
stupid word, disrupt.
I know.
I hate all of you tech people.
That's right.
Disrupt. You're destroying America.
You are. Let's just go on this rant for a while. Tech companies. No.
Boo.
But we'll see. If you guys have thoughts on the Netflix password sharing, I feel like I've heard every take on this, and maybe our takes aren't so unique on that either. But I will just say that it's a travesty, and I think it's a big mistake. And if Netflix ends up downfalling hard, like Napster or whatever else, MySpace or whatever, this is the tipping point that people will be, when they do the documentaries in the future, it's going to be, well, when they started coming for the password sharing, that's when it all went down for Netflix. I could see it.
You know, we blame Ezra Miller for Netflix, and we still can,
Sure.
but I also think that Andy Samberg is to blame. I think he hosted some big event years ago, and he shared his Xbox password, and it crashed their server. Like 30 million people tried to like sign into it right away.
No, somebody shared their HBO password. You're right. Celebrity, what was it? HBO password share?
I know for sure Andy Samberg did something with the video game.
Oh, he did. Yeah, Andy, here it is. 2015, Andy Samberg just gave out his HBO Now password.
Oh, it was HBO. Okay.
And it worked. Like, people were actually using it.
Logged in and everything. Speaking of password sharing, HBO logged me out. I'll need to hit you up later tonight. Thanks. Bye.
Wow, rude. Jerks.
I know, right?
HBO, now is not the time to be poking the bear. Let me tell you. If we cancel one, we can cancel them all, baby. We'll come for you, too.
I was very nervous when I opened up my iPad as I was just,
seriously
making my children's lunches, just to give a little entertainment. And I was like, no, it's happening.
Wow. Devastating. Yeah, that's no good. No good. We'll resolve it. Thanks, HBO. Thanks for not being like Netflix.
Thank you. Appreciate the password share.
All right. Next up, Disney, Bob Iger, I should say, not Disney. Bob Iger had his first earnings report back as CEO of Disney. And in so, shockingly, if anybody's been following the economy recently, rolled out, as many companies are doing, a plan of cuts to the budget, $5.5 billion worth of budget cuts that he is planning to roll out. Some of those will unfortunately be layoffs, which is horrible to hear, but other cuts are related to content. The volume of content, presumably the quality of content, etc. But some of the ways that they hope to gain back some money and to get on the profitable side of the profit and loss or balance sheet or income statement, whatever, is to milk those cash cows, Kirk. And those cash cows are, of course, Frozen and Toy Story, as Disney has announced that they are going to go back to the well there and cash in on a couple more sequels to their biggest franchises. Most notably, Frozen 3 is on the way. Toy Story 5 is on the way. And somewhat out of left field, Zootopia 2. So this is the slate of sequels we know. Sequels are Bob Iger relied pretty heavily on sequels towards the end of his tenure. If you think about Incredibles 2, Monsters U, a lot of Pixar sequels that were coming out of the woodwork here. And this is the most recent slate between Disney Animation Studios and Pixar. Kirk, when you hear these three sequels, what's your reaction to each of them?
To date, I still have not seen Zootopia 1, so, no
comment
in the sequel. Toy Story 5, I don't even know what they're going to do unless they pull a Fast and Furious and all of a sudden they are super secret spies with super secret devices and tech, and they go save the world. Maybe that's what they're going to go, and they meet up with like the small soldiers and take on the world. Frozen 3, I get it. Go for it. Have a trilogy. I just also don't know where her story goes after the Wild Forest. I really don't want to go back to the Enchanted Forest, so I don't know where we go from there. It would be cool if we somehow entered into other fairy tales worlds. I don't know if that's on the plate for what's coming up with her, but that'd be really cool. Maybe it's Elsa Frozen 3 into the Frozen verse. That'd be pretty fun for me.
Yeah, I think certainly for Frozen 3, that was the one that for me at least felt inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
It just money talks, and there's so much money to be had with Frozen. There just is. And I thought Frozen 2 was a good sequel. It's obviously not as good as the original. The original is going to be an iconic animated masterpiece for years and years to come. But Frozen 2 was a worthy sequel to that movie. I always felt like Frozen 3 would happen. I think they'll probably have to grow the world of Frozen a little bit to make sense out of the fact that you've got Anna's new responsibilities as the Queen of Arendelle. You've got Elsa's new responsibilities as the forest witch.
Yes.
The forest ice witch, the queen of the elements. She's basically Captain Planet out there. So they'll have to find a way to make it make sense that the two of them are, have a reason to team up or whatever. But I think that one doesn't concern me. It was already going to happen anyway. Toy Story 5, though, this is bad because Toy Story 4 shouldn't have happened. One of the reviews that I regret more than anything is my review of Toy Story 4. I think I was way too lenient on that movie. As I have rewatched it and lived with it a bit since I've seen that movie, I think I was way impacted by recency bias on that, because if you look at it in a vacuum, it is a good movie. But when you roll it out and apply the things that were done in that movie to the rest of the things that we learned in the Toy Story original films, it just starts to not make sense at all, and it undoes a lot of the things that are so good about the early Toy Story movies. So that sucks. And Kirk, what do they even do here? Because at the end of Toy Story 4, spoiler alert, Woody and Buzz have gone their separate ways, presumably for the final time. How in the world can they make sense out of bringing those two together without completely unraveling everything that happened in Toy Story 4? I think they've totally painted themselves into a box here.
Yeah. I think maybe they have kids and they're maybe where they lose their kids and their kids somehow find each other and they have to go through parenting woes and what do baby toys play with? That could be interesting. But I think it's going to be an extravaganza of someone is lost and Woody and Buzz are reunited by who is lost. But I think the only way to do it would be having kids, which I don't know how that works in the toy world.
I really don't want to think about that. I have no interest in opening that box. I really don't.
But I think that is the most logical step. I don't see any other conflict that could occur with how they've parted ways.
Yeah, I don't either, unless it's off the top of my head here, some big problem happens with the original toy group and they have to go find Woody because he's the only one who can solve it, he's the only one. I don't know. But either way, it's going to be a reach. It's going to be a reach city, and I just don't think it makes sense. It just feels, it feels like a blatant money grab. It feels like a shameless money grab because they didn't like the way things went with Lightyear, and I think that was their plan for moving forward with Toy Story, was to do spin-offs, and that one did not work. People didn't go see it. So they have to go back to the drawing board. And then Zootopia, I'm hyped. I have to admit, I really dug the first Zootopia movie, and the way that movie finishes up sets up a sequel really well, like a buddy cop kind of investigation sequel between two really likable characters and a world that could very, very easily be explored a lot more. So even though I was a little surprised that they didn't go with something that was more of a sure thing, like a Moana 2 or what have you, Encanto 2, Coco 2, whatever. This I think does work. So we'll see.
Crazy stuff happening in Disney.
Very crazy. And one last thing, speaking of crazy things, we'll get off of this story. One story that broke today was, we had heard about this a little bit, but the one of the WB execs, whose name is escaping me at the moment, did an interview kind of talking about their future film plans. And one of the films that came up, which I had totally forgotten about, is this Michael B. Jordan I Am Legend sequel. And here's what was interesting about that. In this movie, Will Smith will be in this movie. And spoilers for anybody who has not seen I Am Legend, here's your warning. That movie is 16 years old now, so be thankful that I'm even spoiler alerting you here. Will Smith, in the theatrical ending for that movie, dies, sacrifices himself to save the cure for the whole mindless zombie thing, right? But this movie will canonify, whatever the word is.
Canonize.
It will make canon the alternate ending of the film, in which Will Smith chooses to face the zombie vampire guys, save the zombie vampire bride, and they both go on with a mutual understanding of one another. Mm-hmm. So that's what will happen here. We'll see an older Will Smith with Michael B. Jordan also in the cast, and we're moving forward. Mm-hmm. Thoughts?
It's hard. Is it canonize? Is it the word? Is that the conjugation?
Right? Canonize? Yeah.
It's hard to retcon something with the alternate ending from the DVD special features circa 2006.
Like the highly discussed and analyzed ending. That's what you're going to do?
Yeah. It's very confusing. I would rather they, so in the original, he's in a glass box, he can't get out of it. He has a grenade, it blows up, right? Done, right? So it would be better if the blast was so powerful and so quick that it blew a hole through the wall and that somehow he just survived. I would believe that more than of course they're going to have to play back the alternate ending to start this movie. There's no other way to do it. And then they're going to have to release the original, like the special anniversary of I Am Legend, and only put the alternate ending as the new ending and have the original theatrical ending as the special feature. It's so backwards. However, I will say that this movie, this basically it's Will Smith just doing Harlem Globetrotter tricks on his acting in this movie, which had no right to be that in depth, this apocalyptic film. And you're like, holy cow, he's going through it. It's like Castaway. It's like Tom Hanks. He has no one else, so he creates things and talks to them and then just survives. It's really, really a great movie. And seeing a sequel to this, yes, excited, but I do have to push back this very weird take on how to move forward.
Yeah, is this going to be a Star Wars special edition situation where you just flat out can't find the original I Am Legend with the original ending? I could see them doing that. Like everywhere this movie streams, boom, special edition, flipped over, whatever, final cut, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. Because the original movie literally will not jive with this movie at all, so they're going to have to find a way to make that make sense. I will say they are getting it right. The alternate ending was the correct ending because of the way that it ties up the story. It's much more closely aligned to the book. And the book I had to read in college. I didn't love the book, but I found it interesting. And the ending of the book, which is vastly different, like the whole movie is very different from the book in a lot of ways, even down to like the actual monster guys themselves. But the alternate ending in the book had in common the same thing, which is that in the end, it turns out that he's kind of the villain, like he's the one that's been killing off all of these things just for himself to survive, when in fact, like they are a sentient, intelligent species all their own that's been getting killed off by him. So in the same way, like it flips the tables, and it's all very, very interesting. And so this is the right ending and the right way to go, but they're going to have to do some weird stuff to make it work.
Yeah. Fun fact. This movie came out, it premiered on my birthday, whatever year it came out.
2007.
Yeah. And then the following spring I had my wisdom teeth out and I was miserable. But my mother, thank you, Mom, she had purchased me the week that I had my wisdom teeth out. This movie came out on DVD.
Nice.
So I have it. I have the OG release that we will always have and know, like, no, this is the real answer. But, Will Smith and Michael B. Jordan might go door to door and start beating people up and taking the original copy.
George Lucas style, start burning them up. That's right. Going to be worth like $50,000 pretty soon here, Kirk. You better hold on to it.
I know. We're going to really have some good funding for the podcast here real soon.
Let's go. Thank you, WB. We appreciate it.
And Mom, I appreciate it.
Yes, and Kirk's mom. Thank you so much for that. But yeah, that's basically it. Thought that was an interesting story to throw in at the end as we were talking about it. We were both like, this is weird and unprecedented. I don't know. It hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts my head, but I like it. So yeah, that's it for what's poppin' this week. Thank you guys so much for being a part. Couple of quick plugs for you. We are going to see Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania tomorrow night. So if you're listening to this podcast on Thursday, that is the night we are going to see it. And we will be dropping a review immediately after. Spoiler-free Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania review. It's going to be like 1 a.m. We're going to be zany, sugared up, artificially buttered up, ready to go.
Bloated from the popcorn and the soda.
Gassy. There will be belching into the microphone. I don't know. It's going to get weird. But it's going to be coming to you Friday, February 17th. So spoiler-free, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And then also have to plug 2 things. Follow us on TikTok. We're churning out lots of content there. We're having a good time. We have seen our downloads on this podcast tick up recently, so thank you. If any of you found us on TikTok, thank you guys so much for listening. And anybody who is listening in general, we are so thankful for you. But secondly, if you are new to the podcast, check below in the description on the podcast or the website or YouTube, and you can find our Discord channel where you can connect with us and talk about things in real time on there, react to news when it happens, and join our community there. It is a swell time, and we would love to have you there. Until then, we are going to leave you with the beautiful sounds of Rhetoric, the band that created our original music. And we're going to give a special thanks to our executive producer, Ryan Spriggs. Join us next time when we give a spoiler-free review of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Talk to you then.